Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I've been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, you know, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe, but that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more. But what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one, there wasn't one. You know, some more of her personality and her sort of character questions about your weaknesses or what mistakes did you make? Not necessarily the answers there.
I think that she takes a really long time to get to her point, and that she does rely on talking points too often. I think she's gotten much better than she used to, but it's almost as if she's afraid to say something that will later come back to haunt her. And I find the fact that she just doesn't really articulate to me her true policy position, and that she isn't really directly answering the questions a lot of times.
I think that clip illustrates exactly why Harris is in trouble at this point. And it's something that I don't understand why the campaign does not address. They asked her specifically, where do you stand on the wall? And what does she do? She goes and shifts it right to Donald Trump. Immediately mentions him twice within the first 5 seconds. She still hasn't closed the deal.
The Kamala Harris campaign continues to flounder. So out of desperation, they plan town halls, they plan interviews, and Kamala Harris flubs them all because every time she opens her mouth, people shut their ears. They don't like what she has to say because all she's basically doing is repeating the same tired stories and talking points. She has no plans. She has no specifics, nothing to offer the American people any glimmer of hope or even a reason to go out and possibly vote for her, which of course is great news for Donald Trump. And all of this, of course, has caused some severe panic among her supporters on the left. But before we get to these clips, please like and comment and subscribe so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
As important as Trump's fascism is, and is the lead story every day, his cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries, it's all huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us. He is putting us at risk. He is making us afraid to have babies. He is putting our reproductive health at risk, and some women have died already because of this. So we can see right now what's coming. These headlines, and very good reporting, by the way, that shouldn't be questioned by idiots about what Trump has said about Hitler, that's incredibly important to know. But I do understand that people who are busy and that are people who are just tapping in may not be able to comprehend, because we've been free. We've been comfortable. We cannot comprehend that. And I understand that. I validate that it is hard to go from here to there. It is where we're going. I hope we don't find out the hard way. But what's happening with women right now is real, and it is playing out across America.
So you can see the frustration in Mika's face, right? None of our attacks are working. We're calling him a Hitler. We're calling him a fascist. Why aren't you listening to us? And that's because people know who Donald Trump is at this point. He has been in the limelight for 40 plus years. He was president 3.5 years ago, right? We know exactly who he is. All of these stories you're trying to spin, people are not buying into them, as is shown here by this panel in Pennsylvania.
In the last few days, the vice president has started to talk about Donald Trump as a fascist, as someone who's spoken approvingly of Hitler. Raise your hand if you've heard about those comments. Okay. What do folks think? Is that something that's persuasive to you? Is that something that you'll factor into your vote? Linda?
To me, it's horrible that she's saying that about him. If he was saying that about her, everybody would be up in arms. I just don't think that's right to come in.
What other? Thank you, sorry, Linda. What other folks think about what the vice president's saying based on accounts of people who've worked with the President Trump? what do folks think about her making those charges and those characterizations?
She obviously thinks it's going to help her. I don't think it does at all. I don't know why, if it was Kelly who heard the president say that, I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I don't think he'd lie. I think you said that, Mark, on an episode. But I think that he had a responsibility to resign the day that was said, if that's true. I don't think that's the case.
Okay. What do other folks think?
I can't. I think part of the reason why I'm being pushed towards Trump so strongly is that I find that the Democrats and the left just keep going straight to Hitler all of the time with everything. Like it, and if it's not the left pushing Hitler, it's the right pushing Stalin. So it's like we're fighting World War II every single day for every single election. So it's so exhausting. I think it just detracts from, it pushes me away from their position, and it's so hyperbolic that it makes it impossible to have good discussions. And I think it ruins the discourse.
Does anybody think it's valuable or something you want to hear from the vice president? Anybody? Raise your hand if you think this is something that's important for her to be talking about. Anybody? Okay.
I love the line of reasoning the gentleman in the bottom middle actually said, right? General Mark Kelly, if Donald Trump was so bad, why didn't you quit immediately and tell the American people what he was doing? Instead, you wait for election years 2020 and 2024 to come out with all of these inflammatory statements. Seems a little suspicious, a little Octoberish surprisey, right? Okay. So no one believes this line of attack and no one thinks it's a benefit. It's not swaying anyone one way or the other, which of course is why the left is melting down. And of course, it's also why Kamala Harris is not popular.
It's not a national poll that decides who becomes president, but tell us what the big takeaways are from this new survey.
Yeah, I mean, a couple, Chris, as you say, nationally, this is what the CNBC poll finds. Trump 48-46 over Harris. There is a breakout here just of the 7 core battleground states. It's not quite as extensive a pool of voters, so the margin of error for just the battleground states, it's a little bit higher. But what the 7 battleground state result shows is Trump at 48% across those 7 states, Harris at 47% across those states. Now, obviously, they don't vote as a block, they vote individually. So just give you a sense, though, in the battlegrounds, a result that looks like the national result here, although even a point closer. So, a notable finding that way. I think the bigger picture story, this was suggested as well in our own NBC poll recently. In the CNBC poll, it asks about the basic perception of the two candidates here. Do you have a positive or negative feeling toward Trump, toward Harris? And you can see right here, neither one of them has a greater positive than negative. They're both not that popular. But Trump, you can see the gap here, 42 positive, 6 negative. He is 6 points underwater on this question. Harris, 39 positive, 49 negative. She's 10 points negative on this question. And the significance here is the trajectory of the Harris campaign.
So in NBC's own poll, Donald Trump is now leading nationally, and there's actually talk popping up about Donald Trump winning the national popular vote, not just the Electoral College, something that hasn't happened since 2004, by the way. It's been quite a while. And of course, this is the reason why Joe Biden was removed from office, because Donald Trump was leading in the national polls there as well, and it freaked everybody out, and they replaced him, of course, with Kamala Harris. And now she's doing horribly because nobody wanted her in the first place, as is pointed out here by Kevin O'Leary.
I would like to introduce the concept of the panel tonight. It's going to be a short dissertation, but I want you to think about this because I watched like you did yesterday, and something hit me pretty hard. Only 90 days ago, Pelosi went to Biden and said, you need to step aside, and convinced him to do so. He made the decision, and he did actually ask her, and we've now learned this, is she the right person to drive this home? He questioned that. He could have said, we need to run a process in order for me to make this move. But they decided not to. I don't know who they is. Was it Obama? Was it Pelosi? I don't care who it was. In stock picking, just listen to this analogy. And you may agree, you may not. 88% of managers, because this is the world I live in, cannot beat the S&P year in, year out. So you give them $1,000, the S&P beats them. They can't pick stocks. This is the second time the Democratic Party has circumvented democracy and chose.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Hillary Clinton was chosen, and she had Bruce Springsteen too. And what happened to her? And now we've chosen.
Kevin, Hillary Clinton won a primary. Okay, she won a primary. You may not.
Nobody could compete with her, even Bernie Sanders.
She won a primary.
Okay.
First of all, that's the first thing.
So did Kamala Harris win a primary?
Listen, we've talked about this before.
What's wrong about talking about it tonight after what you just saw?
Do you think that's really what matters to voters?
Right now.
How many Democrats wish?
Hold on.
Hang on a second.
Let's talk about what matters to voters. Do you really think voters care about the internecine primary process?
If you're a Democrat, you sure as hell care today.
That is an excellent point brought up by Kevin O'Leary there, right? This is the second time the Democrats have basically chosen a candidate as opposed to allowing their primary process to play out. Now, hold on. Hillary Clinton, she won her primary, right? Well, remember, Bernie Sanders was the one with all of the momentum, with all of the excitement, with all of the popularity, and he actually won several different primaries. However, all of the superdelegates were basically awarded to Hillary Clinton, and that's how she became the nominee, basically subverting the will of their Democrat-based voters. Now, fast forward to Kamala Harris, and the Democrats didn't even have the courtesy to have a primary to allow their people to actually vote. Instead, they say, oh, all of our party heads, all the people in charge of these electors, we're going to pick Kamala Harris. And if you're a Democrat right now, chances are you have some severe buyer's remorse because she is not up to the task, something that everybody actually knew all the way back in 2020 when Joe Biden won his primary and Kamala Harris dropped out before it even started. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.